Welcome to Stay Sharp in Digital Engineering. We're really glad you're here. In this episode, we are kicking off a new series called the Digital Product Series, where we talk with a number of companies who develop digital engineering products like PLM, PDM, MES, and the like. So today we are introducing our listeners to a company you may not have heard of in the US, but has been around for more than 30 years in the digital engineering space, called Contact Software. We talk with Dimitri Baumtrok, who is the head of international sales, who is driving their global expansion strategy. He shares the company's history, its definition of digital engineering, their target markets and customer segments, and the importance of partnerships, as well as a sneak peek into their future plans around AI and integration. Let's jump in. Welcome back, everybody, to Stay Sharp in Digital Engineering, the podcast about all things digital related to products, from engineering, manufacturing, and services, and more. I'm one of your hosts, Juliann Grant, and I'm joined today in the hot seat with my co-host, Jonathan Scott.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Jonathan. Good to see you.
Good to be back.
Always good to be back. Had a little break. It was nice.
It was.
Back in the saddle. So today we are talking about a company that you may or may not have heard of. It's called Contact Software. They are the people behind Contact Elements, a digital engineering and manufacturing platform, which many of our North American audience may not be aware of, but they've been around for quite some time. And that's why we want to talk to you about them and introduce the company to you today. So we're really pleased to have a guest with us to help dig into this topic and help share a little bit about who Contact is and give us a little background. So I'd like to welcome Dimitri Baumtrok. Dimitri is the head of international sales at Contact Software. Welcome, Dimitri.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're excited to have you here. So about Dimitri, he has had more than 20 years in software business and has spent 17 plus years helping ISVs expand internationally and provide manufacturing companies with digitalization solutions for electronic, CAD, PLM, and CPQ. And so Dimitri is based in the southwest of Germany in Karlsruhe. So I don't know if I got that right, but welcome. We're really glad you're here.
Thank you very much.
I first learned about Contact, I don't remember how many years ago, but a couple of years ago, and I had a very bad assumption about it at the time, right? I assumed it was sort of a small or niche solution, had a niche footprint, that kind of thing, because I really hadn't heard a lot about it in North America. But as I've learned more about the platform and I dug in, I've come to understand it's quite a large and mature platform for digital engineering and for manufacturing, right? Which is the other part that's quite interesting. It's just not as well known as some other tools in the space. So with that, context, knowing that we are talking about sort of a best kept secret here, I want to dig into some details with you, Dimitri, and help people better understand the company. I know we've had another conversation, and I don't know when all these get published, but with Frank Potts-Brockman about the product. But I want to really dig in more on the company and some of the history, because I think that's really relevant to help people get to know this important software. So I'm going to just start off with a question that sort of relates right to the theme of the podcast. So for you guys, for Contact, how do you define digital engineering and manufacturing, and where do you fit into that picture?
Well, it's a great question. How do we define digital engineering and manufacturing? From an ISV perspective, we're kind of pushed in the corner by the World Wide Web, by the customers, by the you've got to have a 3-letter abbreviation what you make all your products.
Especially in the States.
That's but how would we actually like to define it without calling it out with a 3-letter abbreviation?
Yes.
Right? I personally, I look at it that we help manufacturing companies to design and ultimately to launch their products to market faster and less costly. Now, how to squeeze it in the 3-letter abbreviation? There are terms like PDM, PLM, MES on the market, right? I like actually to describe it in the way we're providing a top floor to shop floor solution for the manufacturing companies. What do I mean by that? The top floor to shop floor basically describes a process from the top floor where the idea, the innovation on products is being made and then controlled workflow to the shop floor where the product is being produced. And beyond that, nowadays, everybody's talking about smart products, smart services. What is actually the intent? Everybody simply would like to make more revenue, fair point. But how? By knowing what do my products actually do out there at my customer site. This entire chain, and so this is the shop floor and the service side, but what do they do there? I would like to get back the information so I can innovate, I can improve my products, I can improve my production. And this is what the top floor to shop floor philosophy is all about. So this is how we define digital engineering on the top floor, and the manufacturing, the shop floor, plus extending it to the smart products, calling back home, hey, I may get a problem in X period of time or by hours, manufacturing or production hours or whatsoever.
So connecting it to what people, I think our audience, the 3-letter acronyms they might have heard, you named a bunch, right? So PDM, PLM, MES. The one I didn't hear that I am hearing out of what you're saying is also IoT. So is that right? You're kind of covering all those bases?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And we started off as a CAD data management solution back in the 90s. Quite a long time ago. And then evolving or extending our solution based on the market needs as the digitalization. Digitalization is a term we are using for the last 5, 6, 7 years eventually. But digitalization started in the 1900s whatsoever, right? we just didn't call it this way. Right. And even IoT was around 15, 20 years ago. We just didn't call it this way. It was called differently. And it's okay. So, we are a product data management solution. Yes, we do process automation. This is why we are a PLM solution, product lifecycle management. And what the majority of our customers use is document control, or they use the solution for document control, document management, project management, MES for manufacturing execution, and thank you for calling it out, IoT.
Let's talk a little bit more about your customers and who you serve and the kinds of companies that use your products.
What do you want to know about?
Well, who are your primary customer segments? What markets are really gravitate towards this top floor to shop floor approach? And what size company are we talking about? Because we have really big companies and really small ones, and so where do you fit?
Where do we fit? Right in the middle.
Okay.
Right in the middle. No, seriously. This may also be. So if again, from the IoT, from the corner perspective to the World Wide Web, to the world, where do we fit, and why are we calling it the best kept secret? Right? As we spoke about the companies and the digitalization evolving from companies were drawing drawings by hand, and then the first automation tools arose. CAD data management, system-based or software-based CAD data management, and product data management, and then from the evolution perspective of software business, a lot of companies have extended their CAD systems with a CAD data management vault, and this typically comes from the big CAD software providers. On the other hand side, there are big names, big logos on the markets who are also supplying machines and components to the world. Call it out, Siemens and the like. They also came with a solution for very big companies. Now, where do we fit? Typically, companies who are thinking, all right, the CAD data management solution is no longer enough for our needs. We need project management. We need process automation. We need the step towards the solution from a big or giant supplier doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
I call it if you need electricity between a mouse and a wheel and a power plant, there must be something in between to produce it.
Right.
That's us.
Okay.
So we are a mid-sized company, and our target market is mid-sized companies or upper mid-sized companies, and this is another frequently asked question: how to define a mid-sized company? Well, it's not by size or revenue, which is typically used KPI, because a mid-sized company in the Netherlands is a totally different mid-sized company in the US by definition. So any company who call themselves, I'm a mid-sized company, by my structures, decision-making structures, by my approach to the market, I want to be agile. I want to have my freedom to choose a CAD system or an ERP system or whatsoever. I don't want to be locked in. I don't have years of time for implementation because I need to react fast to the global economy, to the global markets. This is probably a better definition of a mid-sized company. They don't have the competitive situation to have a 5-year PLM implementation before they start the first project in the PLM system to start gaining from that. They need it fast. Sorry for being European. Sorry for being lengthy.
No, but that's really interesting. It's more like a behavioral thing of, where a company is in their maturity, what they're trying to get done, and how fast they want to do it.
I think that answer makes a lot of sense, right? So it's very helpful. I'm going to ask a follow-up related to it, though. Again, it's more for our audience than anything. If you were to orient that answer across certain industries, are there industries that you guys say you would favor, or I don't think anybody wants to say, well, these are industries we don't deal with, but is there something there to help orient people? Are you fashion PLM? I don't think so, but what would you say there?
Interesting that you call it fashion. It's just recently, last year, I believe, we signed a handful of customers in the fashion industry in Vietnam.
Interesting.
So bad example on my part.
No, it's a great example because the platform, as you explained at the beginning. By the way, are you looking for a job?
Nice.
So the platform.
I just used the 3-letter acronyms. You explained it well.
The platform is very agile and very versatile. We do have pre-configured solutions for different industry verticals, and that, to answer that question, excuse me, I need to take a step back. So, as you can probably tell from my accent, I live in Germany, and the Germany is still famous for automotive markets, and so 40% of our customers are either tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 automotive customer. It's just how we grew up right here in Germany, and therefore automotive is not, I wouldn't call it's our preferred market. It's just it's our home turf. Again, how we grew up. Because the German cars, and they are still known for its precision, accuracy, and this is how our software is built. It is very mature, very robust, very accurate. This is where you still feel the German engineering used to be a brand and also kind of a quality stamp in the world. So auto industry is one of them. Industrial machinery or machine building is the other big pillar of our customer base.
That makes sense. I mean, I can identify a little bit with that. I don't mean to insert too much about Razor Leaf into this conversation, but people have asked us, what's our area of expertise? And a lot of times I'll explain that, Yeah, we do work with automotive, aerospace, and their supply chains. And our observation is once you get into supply chains and that midsize for midsize you mentioned, actually a lot of processes are similar for industrial machinery, for medical device, for lots of industries. So it's not like you really are specialized in a certain thing. It's like we understand that kind of company that maybe operates in lots of different industries. So I think I hear where you're coming from, even though that automotive, that home turf, there is some like, well, we grew up a certain place, but now we kind of address a lot.
Yep.
Are you how effective is the software around managing compliance? You mentioned medical devices, Jonathan, but I know that has some real specific aspects to how to manage those processes.
We do. I'll be honest here. I'm not very much knowledgeable about the compliance use cases, right? So can we manage compliance? Yes, of course, right? It's managing compliance is about processes. So whenever somebody is asking, is your software ISO certified? It's typically the wrong question. It's not the software that you get certified. It's your process, right? And there is software which can support you as a company to go through and to get this certification. And if this is your answer, your question, then the answer is yes. Can our software support companies to get compliant to certifications? Yes, of course.
So I want to pivot off of that and the conversation we were just having about like who's your market, who are your typical customers, and talk about how you come to market a little bit, if that's okay. So I know you come to market through partners because we happen to be one, but how do you guys generally approach the market? I mean, is it a lot of direct through partners, OEMs? Like what kinds of things, like where would people see you or know your solution?
Mm-hmm. It's the mix. It's the mix. We do have a very strong direct sales force when it comes to the German-speaking markets, because this is where our company originated. But in the meantime, we have been expanding globally, and this is why I came on board. This is my job to expand internationally, and this we do through direct, but also indirect sales. You touched on OEM partnerships. We do have OEM partners, for instance, in shipbuilding industry, where a partner of ours is using our technology, puts a shipbuilding application package, let me call it this way, on top of the Contact Elements platform. And by doing so is offering a very tailored solution for the shipbuilding market. We, of course, work and sell through partners. And the reason why is there are certain things you cannot buy for money, right? So one of the things is because we're not a giant PLM supplier or our pick one of the three letter abbreviations, we just need to go to market more differently, right? So going to a market and then hire hundreds of people will get me faster to get the people. But it doesn't necessarily provide me with the know-how, the market know-how, and the market reputation. And what I mean by reputation, it's about trust. It's about track record. And this is something you cannot necessarily buy for money unless you buy companies, which to a certain degree we do that with our possibilities. But then how do we go to market? Through channel partners. So I believe in that the pie is big enough for everybody. The market is big enough for everybody to make their cut, to make their share. And so 1 + 1 in that scenario becomes not 2, but 3 or 4 or 5. And so my responsibility is to find the right balance between hiring direct people, because this is then the direct touch, direct impact. So I call it the land and expand strategy. So we do have our boots on the ground in the key region, but then partner with a company who have the trust from their customers. How do they gain the trust from their customers? Because they delivered good work. And this is why we partner with Razorleaf, for example.
Awesome. I love that answer.
Yeah, it's a great answer, actually. And it's not one that you hear a whole lot when you say there's enough market for everybody. There are a lot of folks, especially in the US, don't necessarily have that view of things. But I think it's a healthy way to look at it, because partnering really gets you a lot further faster than you can do on your own. And even with direct, because there's just only so much one person can do. So let's talk a little bit about a customer. Do you have a customer? Help put some context into this conversation about how the solution is really helping somebody solve some business problems. Do you have a story or something that you could share with us?
A number, but then we need to make an appointment for another podcast.
Okay. Well, that's a happy problem. We can do that. We can do another podcast.
Very good. I take it as a promise. I'm European. There is a great story. Different podcast. We have a number of good customer stories, actually, and I think to call out even a handful of customer stories would be kind of unfair to the other customers. I think what is important to the audience is he's talking about reference customers. How can I relate by industry eventually? Have they already done that? Okay, this is one thing. And I think this is what you can look up on our website. But what is the value add of, let's say, what is not on our website is, or in online, is how we work with our customers. And we have strategic relationship with several of our customers. What do I mean by that? Is our customers influence our development of the product, and not by opening tickets in the system, and then they're getting rated, and then eventually in 10 years, eventually a feature will be. This is not what I mean by that. But you remember the top floor to shop floor story, and you remember where we come from, being a CAD data management, PDM, PLM. We were not providing a solution for the shop floor from day one. But then when we identified that there is a great value. So let me step back. Many vendors probably, or a number of vendors could tell you that story. But when you ask them, can you demonstrate the closed loop engineering? It will take them probably a handful of systems hopping to go through the process. And this is literally another podcast with my colleague Frank Brockman, who is our CTO. We thought we have really a platform which can be extended to the shop floor, but then it has the capabilities. But then the question is how to do that. Do you go in a lab and you develop something, you Google and then develop something and then you test it? So sorry for the long answer. We teamed up with a customer of ours, and I believe this is also fair to call their name. It's ThyssenKrupp. We say ThyssenKrupp in German.
And we don't.
Right. So they were already a customer for the PLM. And so we said, we would like to expand our solution. We have this vision for the top floor to shop floor solution. Are you interested? And so they said yes. Like in a marriage, right? And they said yes. And So we started developing that solution together with them. And this is how the first version of the MES IoT solution was born. This is what I mean by strategic partnerships. And we have some other customers in other areas where we do it in a similar way, where we really listen to the customer and really top down. So our CEO, CTO, COO, pretty much everybody from the C level, including C level, of course, everybody underneath, it's our day-to-day business, is traveling, is going to the customer inside. And this is another part of this mid-size to mid-size, right? They are not sitting in Germany in their office and looking at Excel and customer logos. They still travel almost on a weekly basis to the customer, not just in Germany, right? So I'm traveling a lot in US, but also in Asia. Just recently, for 3 weeks straight, our CEO was traveling together with me in a number of countries in Asia, listening to our customers, listening to our partners, coming back and turning the market requirements, partner requirements, customer requirements back into our solution. And this is a huge benefit which we have as a mid-sized company, because we are manageable. Manageable in the sense, when a CEO comes back and says, this is what we need, the turnaround in implementing that is much faster when you go to a giant solution provider, if it makes sense.
No, it does. Certainly, that example, I think, answered your question, Juliann.
It did, really, yes.
But it ties back to the other things you were saying, Dimitri, about how you guys are unique, right? What you feel like you're bringing to the market that's different. So you said something there that maybe answers the next question I want to ask, or starts to touch on it, and that's a little bit about the business. You mentioned, growing up from PDM and sort of coming into PLM, and the even example of ThyssenKrupp Group was, and we partner with people that helps determine where we go. It's not all theoretical. But tell me more about the company, the history. Like, how did that come to be? And I hear you talking about a strong CEO, really influences the business. But can you give us some of that context?
Do you mean how the company was founded?
Yeah, where did you come from, and what is, it sounds like there's a certain culture about how the company sees its customers and working with its customers, and a lot of times that's born out of, well, here's how the company came to be, and here's how it has grown, and that kind of thing.
Right, yeah. So our CEO and founder, he was actually a very good football player, or in America you call it soccer.
Good clarification.
Different podcast.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then he went for studies, and he wanted to become an engineer, but for whatever reasons, he ended up in IT. But as becoming an engineer, and I once learned from a British guy, engineering comes from ingenious. He wanted to be, since he studied IT ultimately and not engineering, which was in his favor in early days, he wanted to come up with a software solution. It was 1990s or early 90s, which will help engineers to do their job faster. So he saw how much engineers actually spent time on, let me call it admin work, right? So not ingenious work. And so he came with this idea of, I'm IT, let me code a system, program a system. And so this was he gave birth to Contact Elements as a platform. And ever since, he tells, and this is also part of our company's slogan, energizing great minds, which means to free up the time for the ingenious people out there from, I always tend to say silly tasks, but tasks which are admin, which can be avoided, which can be automated, so that the people can really focus on the ingenious part in their job and not on the, looking for the right document. Is it the right version? Is it the right revision? Is it who do I talk to? Who do I give this folder next?
Yeah, not the real thinking work, but the real mundane work. Yep.
Right. Exactly. So energizing great minds is what we are striving for. This is what this is our mission, and this is our mission.
And is that, talking about that history, so that's good background, and that sounds like it definitely influences, the way things operate today. That means it's the same company? I mean, are you guys privately held, or is this a public company, or is the CEO still around? I mean, I think you mentioned that, but I just want to be clear, because I think it's an important part of the story, right?
I think it is, because I believe it is always something very point of view related. I used to work for public companies and for a number of private equity companies and privately held companies. So Contact Elements, Contact Software. Contact Software is a privately held company. The CEO and founder is still around, and he's still a shareholder, but he has he has provided a number of shares to his children. He has 5 children, and 3 of 5 they work for Contact Software in management. So it is a family-held company.
That's actually great. Keeps that spirit alive, and what the spirit and the energy that he's trying to bring in through his children. So that's really great. One more question before we wrap up, because we are getting close to time, gentlemen. So I need to keep on track of the clock. But there is some really, I've been reading some things about Contact in preparation, and so what are some of the things you're seeing moving into the future where Contact's going? And anything you want to talk about there?
Talking about the future, if you take me in Contact in 5 years from now, Contact has become a really international company. So
the secret's out, so to speak.
Yeah, the secret is out. So that's yes. the bad part of the story. But the good part of the story, we are still a mid-sized company from our way of thinking, from our way of acting, to the people, to the partners, to the markets, to the customers, of course. We're really international, and I'm seriously very excited about the AI topic in our solution. So we have very good prototypes with AI, which will be launched shortly. And I'm curious because the top floor to shop floor story and our platform approach allow AI actually to provide better results than if it were fragmented, different 3-letter abbreviation solutions. Today we had a workshop on which additional use cases we can utilize with the AI. Plus, in combination, what was released last week officially, we have acquired a major stack in a company developing mobile solutions, mobile apps. And this is actually the future of Contacts, right? CXO on the go, impact analysis. I've got a request from Juliann. Can we do this or that change? Okay, what is the impact? Yes, no, boom, done on the go. Right? Or call up Jonathan. Jonathan, the following production sites is not green. Why? Right? Jonathan accessing the same app but different stack of the software. It is just so really energizing, really focusing on the subject and not on who to call next, where to get this information from. And AI will really be the booster here and many times you hear AI-driven PLM. I think it's also PLM-driven AI, where PLM is basically feeding my counterparts. So, excuse me, when you really ask about the future, I start really become visionary. Iron Man and Javas. So I want to have a Javas and say, hey, tell me about the projects. Which one's going well, which are not, and tell me why. And then Javas, or we call it Kai, so Contact AI.
Clever.
We like that.
would tell me exactly where are the problems, and give me a recommendation to solve them. Give me the impact analysis. If I replace supplier X by supplier Y, what will be the impact on my product by cost, by delaying my production in country A, B, C, because I'm a global company, global manufacturing company. All these kind of use cases, but I don't want to disclose too much, because eventually some of our competitors will watch the podcast. So
fair enough.
Best kept secret, right?
Yes, something should be kept secret. That is true.
That's right.
Well, that's really interesting. I think that's very exciting. I love the idea of the mobile, and then having the information on the go, and then utilizing AI in the right way is what you're saying. So not necessarily having. Go ahead, Jonathan.
I was just saying, I like the idea. What I'm hearing out of that, Dimitri, that I think is so exciting is it's not AI for AI's sake. It's not mobile for mobile's sake. Your point was, it's about speed of doing business and getting access to information. It comes back to that energizing great minds. Let's get rid of all the noise and the wasted time and focus on what we're trying to do. So that's an interesting vision that kind of ties together a bunch of things that it sounds like you guys are working on.
Speaking of tying things up, Jonathan. Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
I'm going to guess it's time to summarize what we've heard.
It is. Unfortunately, this has been fun, but we do have to be careful of time.
So I'll try and hit the high points, although I think we did talk about a lot. Dimitri, if I forget something, please, remind me like, we mentioned that too. But things that I heard, talking about where you guys fit, Contact sells a platform that is, I'll throw in the 3-letter acronyms, PLM, MES, IoT, probably some other things. And there's a couple. DMS, document management,
project management.
like quality management. So a lot of those. And the thing I hear there is full life cycle, right? And it's a tricky thing in the industry, right? Because a lot of people say PLM and life cycle, but that really is complete related to products. So I heard that. I heard composable architecture, right? You mentioning elements being that, you could take the pieces that you need. There's some pre-made solutions for industries and that kind of thing, but people can also pick and choose what they need. I heard the company's been around for a while, right? And I knew a little bit of that story already, which is why I wanted to ask some of those questions. But, there's a large customer base in Germany, and that's growing internationally. And it's going from best kept secret to the secret's out. People are starting to learn what this is and the success you've had. But that is sort of juxtaposed to you're still mid-size for mid-size, that phrase you use, that makes sense, right? You target that, and it's an agility thing that Contact's bringing to bear. And it comes back to the other piece you mentioned that I heard, the vision of energizing great minds, right? That future vision we just talked about a second ago. But overall, it sort of connects to the culture that you mentioned, the history of the company. There's been a singular focus on how do we get rid of the wasted time and give engineers the tools they need to do what they need to do. So I think those are the big things that I heard. I know there are other little tidbits, but did I miss anything else important, Dimitri?
I think there is one thing which is worth mentioning. The one is, you touched on it, the composable architecture. What does it do good for me as a mid-sized company? Remember the mouse on the wheel and the power plant? That the composable architecture allows mid-sized companies to start with a full-fledged let's call it PLM solution, or top floor to shop floor process automation solution. However, you don't need to start with a power plant. You can start small and you can extend as your requirements grow without the need to rip and replace, right? You can gradually extend the platform. And how? There are different flavors. And the preferred flavor nowadays is software as a service, meaning you can start actually tomorrow with a pre-configured solution.
That's a good addition, right? So helping people understand that that's another piece about where you fit, right? And how it can fit what they need. So, okay.
Right.
From a summary perspective, that's all I had, Juliann. And thank you for adding that in, Dimitri. But I think this has been great.
Yeah, I would agree. This has been a great conversation. So thank you so much, Dimitri, for your time today and to have this conversation and learn a little bit more about contact software and contact elements. I think big things are in the picture for you soon and in the very near future. So as you said, you're going international, and that's it's going to be many exciting days for you ahead. So, as always, there's many more aspects to talk about here, and I'm sure we'll have Contact back and Dimitri back to talk more about Contact as the plans continue to unfold for their international expansion. But if anyone has any questions for Dimitri about Contact, please make sure to just pop a question up on our post. We'll be happy to answer that for you in connection with Dimitri if needed. And we always welcome your ideas for future episodes, so please feel free to make those comments as well. But please keep tuning in with us. We are grateful for you to listen to us today. And until next time, everybody, stay sharp. Thanks for being here and listening to this episode of Stay Sharp with Razorleaf. If you like this podcast, please be sure to hit that like button. We'd really appreciate it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your podcast platform or check us out on YouTube. If you have any questions, please leave us a comment on our post or send us an email to podcast@razorleaf.com. We always appreciate hearing from you. If you have any podcast ideas, also include those. Till next time, everybody, stay sharp.